Tore down the diner and the old movie screen, paved over the places where we used to be seen. But there's one lonely booth standing on the corner street, a glass-paneled sanctuary where the rain and sorrow meet. Step inside the box to escape the bitter chill, holding on to a quarter and a love that lingers still. The yellow pages are torn, the receiver is cold, but it's the only lifeline for a story growing old. I'm calling from the last payphone in town, watching the rain wash our memories down. I don't know if you'll answer, I don't know what I'd say. I just need to feel connected in some foolish, desperate way. The silver coin drops with a hollow, echoing sound, calling from the last payphone, sinking in the ground. I dial the first few digits, the ones I know by heart, the geographical coordinates of where we fell apart. My fingers are shaking, shivering in the damp, illuminated only by a flickering street lamp. The operator's voice is a mechanical cold drone, telling me the number is a disconnected zone. I scream into the mouthpiece, though I know nobody's there, broadcasting my apologies to the empty, freezing air. I'm calling from the last payphone in town, watching the rain wash our memories down. I don't know if you'll answer, I don't know what I'd say. I just need to feel connected in some foolish, desperate way. The silver coin drops with a hollow, echoing sound, calling from the last payphone, sinking in the ground. Disconnected, just a dial tone. The stadium lights are powered down, The astroturf is cold. I'm standing on the 50-yard line, feeling suddenly old. The frost is creeping up the painted numbers on the ground. In this cathedral of our youth, there isn't a single sound. I'm wearing my old varsity jacket. The leather's getting worn, a relic from a Friday night before my heart was torn. I close my eyes and I can hear the marching band begin before the bitter winter of adulthood settled in. I'm standing in the empty bleachers, shouting out your name, a solitary spectator to a long-forgotten game. The scoreboard is completely black, the clock is out of time, but in my mind you're cheering for me in your gorgeous prime. We won the championship back then, we conquered the whole town, but somehow in the game of love, I let the trophy down. Look up at the top rope where we used to hide away, skipping the pep rally just to hear the things you'd say. You kissed me underneath the steel, completely out of sight, the undisputed king and queen of the roaring Friday night. Now I'm just a ghost walking across the frozen field, carrying a heavy wound that hasn't ever healed. I trade every single victory, every medal made of gold, just to have one more winter night with you for me to hold. I'm standing in the empty bleachers, shouting out your name, a solitary spectator to a long-forgotten game. The scoreboard is completely black, the clock is out of time, but in my mind you're cheering for me in your gorgeous prime. We won the championship back then, we conquered the whole town, but somehow in the game of love, I let the trophy down. The game is over, the crowds are gone. Opened up my yearbook from the class of '85, looking at the faces when we felt so alive. Tucked between the pages, fragile, brown and dry, was the white rose that you wore under the starry sky. From night in the gymnasium, stream the is pink and blue. The only thing that mattered in the entire world was you. The petals are like paper, crumbling at my touch. A delicate reminder that I loved you way too much. A wilted corsage from a beautiful spring, a dried up memory that makes my heart string. We slow dance to the ballad in the center of the floor. We swore we'd be together forever and a day more. Now the music is over, the decorations torn down, and I'm holding on to a flower that has withered and brown. You wore a satin dress, I rented a tuxedo suit. We posed for the photograph, nervous and so mute. I pinned the flower on you, careful of the thorn. It was the greatest moment since the day that I was born. But seasons always change, and teenagers grow up fast, leaving behind the artifacts of an innocent past. I wanna go back to the gym and hold you in my arms, safe from the future and all of its cruel harms. A wilted corsage from a beautiful spring, a dried up memory that makes my heart string. We slow dance to the ballad in the center of the floor. We swore we'd be together forever and a day more. Now the music is over, the decorations torn down, and I'm holding on to a flower that has withered and brown. Just dry petals, fading youth. It's midnight in the study, the desk lamp glowing bright. I'm staring at a piece of paper, perfectly blank and white. I've got a ribbon full of ink and a million things to say, but the words are all tangled up, standing in the way. I strike the heavy keys, trying to spell it out, trying to explain the darkness and the heavy, lingering doubt. The carriage returns, the cylinder starts to spin, but I don't even know exactly where I should begin. These are my typewriter tears, bleeding through the page, a mechanical confession. pulled up the first draft and threw it on the floor beside the dozen others I had written just before. I'm sorry it looks so empty when it's typed in Courier font. It doesn't capture half the pain or the forgiveness that I want. My fingers are exhausted, my eyes are burning red, trying to resurrect the love that is tragically dead. I wanna rip the ribbon out and tie it around my heart to hold the shattered pieces before they fall apart. These are my typewriter tests, bleeding through the page, a mechanical confession of my sorrow and my rage. Every letter is a bullet, every sentence is a cry, a desperate written manuscript explaining the goodbye. I'm hammering the alphabet, breaking off the keys, a literary monument to a man upon his knees. Yours truly, forever. I finally opened up the garage after all these years, facing the metallic monument of all my deepest fears. The old Mustang is sitting in the corner, covered up in a sheet, a sleeping metal giant that used to rule the street. I pull the canvas back and see the faded cherry red, a sudden rush of memories flooding back into my head. The tires are all flat, the battery is completely dead, just like the beautiful future that we never quite led. There's dust on the dashboard, thick and heavy gray, a blanket of ones you wore when the summer wind was blowing through your hair. A faded map of California, folded perfectly neat. A plan we never executed, a victory incomplete. The silence in the cabin is deafening and deep. A quiet mausoleum where our highway promises sleep. I wanna turn the key and hear the engine roar to life. Drive away from the memory of this agonizing strife. There's dust on the dashboard, thick and heavy gray, a blanket of time that I can never wipe away. I sit in the driver's seat and grip the steering wheel, trying to remember how the open road used to feel. But the miles we never traveled are weighing on my mind, trapped inside this vehicle that we left so far behind. Going nowhere, just sitting still. The neon sign is buzzing, casting shadows on the floor. I walk into the diner through the heavy glass door. I slide into the corner booth, the leather's cracked and old. The air inside this sanctuary is bitter, damp and cold. I trace the wooden table where we carved our initials deep, a monument of promises that we couldn't ever keep. The waitress brings a menu, but she knows I cannot eat. I'm just a phantom haunting this very empty seat. I'm sitting in the corner booth, party of just one, hiding from the reality of the damage I have done, staring at the sugar packets and the napkin rings, listening to the tragedy that the broken jukebox sings. I keep looking at the door, hoping you will walk right through, but it's just me and a cup of black coffee missing you. I remember when we sat here on the night we finally met. You were wearing blue jeans and smoking a cigarette. We talked until the sun came up and painted the city gold. I thought I had a It's just me and a cup of black coffee, missing you. Just me tonight in the corner booth. I'm standing at the terminal, looking at the board, searching for a flight to a place I can't afford. Not running to a destination, just running far away from the heavy crushing silence of the words you didn't say. My suitcase is half empty, but my heart is heavy lead, echoing the final bitter sentences we said. The customs agent looks at me and asks if I'm alright. I tell him I'm just tired from the shadows of the night. I'm holding on to a tear-stained passport in my hand, crossing over borders to a strange and foreign land, trying to put an ocean between my soul and you, looking for a skyline that isn't painted blue. The stamp upon the paper says I'm finally free to go, but the chains around my memory are the only thing I know. We talked about a holiday in Paris or in Rome, building up a fantasy where we would make our home. But the tickets that I'm holding only have a single name, like it's letting go. All the noise is finally released in a softer glow. There's a truth inside the quiet air, something I can feel. Even when you're not really there, it still feels real. There's a light I can't deny, even as I try. Falling asleep, I feel free, nothing left controlling me. Every shadow fades away in the light of a new day. Falling asleep, stay with me, even if it's just a dream. Every second passing through feels like I'm with you. If I wake and you're not there, still I'll feel you everywhere. In the silence, in the dark, you're the ever-burning spark. Falling asleep, I believe in the love we couldn't leave. Even if it fades away, it will find another way. Sleep. Falling asleep.
The Pacific coast is shrouded in a blanket of morning fog. I'm driving like a madman, a desperate runaway dog. The cliff drops off to nothing on the right side of the road. I'm carrying a dangerous, emotionally heavy overload. He told me it was over in a letter on the dash. Now I'm flirting with the edge, waiting for the final crash. The curves are getting sharper, the tires start to squeal. I'm losing all my traction, losing the ability to feel. I'm driving down the cliffside highway, racing to the end, looking for a miracle, waiting around the coming bend. The ocean is a roaring beast, hungry coat collar up against the bitter chill, walking past the rusted gates of the old abandoned mill. This is where we used to meet when the city went to sleep, making midnight promises that we both failed to keep. The moisture in the air is mixing with my tears, washing away the clarity, amplifying my fears. I'm just footsteps in the fog, wandering the street, searching for a shadow that I'm never gonna meet. A silhouette of sorrow blending in with the gray, a ghost who doesn't know that he has lost his way. I call your name out loud, but the vapor swallows the sound. I'm lost inside the mist, and I don't wanna be found. I stand upon the bridge where we carved our names in wood. I'd rip it from the railing if I only understood how two people so connected could drift so far apart, leaving a gaping canyon right across my heart. The fog is getting thicker, obscuring the view, but I don't need to see to know I'm missing you. I'm wandering through a cloud of my own mistakes, feeling every single shiver that my body makes. I'm just footsteps in the fog, wandering the street, searching for a shadow that I'm never gonna meet. A silhouette of sorrow blending in with the gray, a ghost who doesn't know that he has lost his way. I call your name out loud, but the vapor swallows the sound. I'm lost inside the mist, and I don't wanna be found. Lost in the fading The waitress knows my order. She doesn't have to ask. She sees the heavy burden behind my smiling mask. It's 4 a.m. at the diner.
the county line. I'm pouring granulated sugar, pretending that I'm fine. The jukebox in the corner hasn't played a song in hours, and my hope is wilting faster than a vase of cut flowers. I stir the cup in circles, watching the whirlpool spin. A bitter little metaphor for the state that I am in. It's just black coffee and heavy regrets, counting the ceiling tiles and smoking cigarettes, trying to swallow down the pride that kept us so apart. A caffeine stimulation for a dead and broken heart. The porcelain is burning, but my hands are freezing cold. A lonely, sleepless story, getting prematurely old. I should have chased you down when you ran out in the rain. Instead, I stood there frozen, paralyzed by the pain. I thought that you'd come back, I thought you'd turn around, but the only thing you left was silence on the ground. Now I'm tipping 20% for a sympathetic smile, hoping that this diner stays open for a before we shattered like a fragile pane of glass. It's just black coffee and heavy regrets, counting the ceiling tiles and smoking cigarettes, trying to swallow down the pride that kept us so apart. A caffeine stimulation for a dead and broken heart. The porcelain is burning, but my hands are freezing cold. A lonely, sleepless story, getting prematurely old. Just one more cup, keep it black. Oh
The velvet curtain closed an hour ago. The theater is dark. The janitor is remnants of the spark. I'm sitting in the dressing room, wiping off the grease paint tears, looking at a face that has aged 100 heavy years. The roses on the vanity are starting to droop and die, just like the beautiful illusion of the ultimate final lie. The audience has gone back home to their comfortable warm beds, while I am left to wrestle with the voices in my head. I'm listening to the echoes of the applause inside my mind, the only kind of comfort that a lonely man can find. They clap for the performer, they cheer for the facade, but they didn't see the broken man praying to a silent God. You were my only muse, the reason that I took the stage. Now I'm just an empty actor, trapped inside a gilded cage. I wrote the final act for you, a masterpiece of art, hoping that the dialogue would reach your distant heart. But you didn't buy a ticket, you didn't take a seat, you left me playing to a crowd completely incomplete. I packed my costumes in a trunk and turned the mirror light down low, preparing for the endless road, nowhere left to really go. I trade every standing ovation for a single word from you, but the spotlight's moving on and the tragic scene is through. I'm listening to the echoes of the applause inside my mind, the only kind of comfort that a lonely man can find. They clap for the performer, they cheered for the facade, but they didn't see the broken man praying to a silent God. You were my only muse, the reason that I took the stage. Now I'm just an empty actor, trapped inside a gilded cage. Take a bow, the show is over. that old familiar tune, the one we used to dance to beneath the harvest moon. A
pour a glass of red wine and push the table back, stepping on the floorboards, walking on the track. The living room is empty, the curtains are all drawn. I'm pretending you're still here, pretending you're not gone. I hold out my right hand to an invisible embrace, tears falling softly down my tired, weathered face. I'm dancing with a memory, swaying in the dark, waltzing with a phantom that left a heavy mark. One step forward, two steps back into the past, trying to make a fleeting, ghostly moment last. The saxophone is crying out a melancholy song while I dance with the memory of where I belong. I can almost feel your head resting on my shoulder, but the air inside my arms is getting steadily colder. We spin around the coffee table, a tragic little show, a solitary dancer with nowhere else to go. The neighbors probably think I've completely lost my mind, but they don't know the treasure that I am trying to find. The music starts to fade, the song is almost done, and I'm still dancing in the dark, a party of just one. Dancing with a memory, swaying in the dark, waltzing with the phantom that left a heavy mark. One step forward, two steps back into the past, trying to make a fleeting, ghostly moment last. The saxophone is crying out a melancholy song while I dance with the memory of where I belong. Just one more dance, don't let the music stop. windshield wiper swinging in a hypnotic beat. I'm driving away from the memories of our street. I pull up to the barrier, roll the window down. The rain is washing over this sleepy, broken town. I reach into my pocket for a heavy silver coin, leaving behind the only world I ever wanted to join. The attendant doesn't look at me, he just takes the toll. He doesn't know he's holding the pieces of my soul. I'm passing through the toll booth out of town, watching the kingdom of our love slowly burning down. The red light turns to green, but it feels like a mistake. Every mile I travel is another bone to break. There's no U-turn on this highway, no turning back the clock. Just a one-way ticket past the final emotional blow. I throw my leather jacket on the empty passenger seat, a hollow stand-in for the girl I couldn't keep. The radio is playing a sad and familiar tune underneath the hidden glow of a clouded, crying moon. I press the pedal to the metal, trying to find some speed to outrun the desperate, undeniable lake I need. my soul awake in this neon painted night, watching the soapy water spin around behind the glass, a dizzying reflection of the days that move too fast. I threw your favorite sweater in with all my faded jeans, trying to wash away the scent of what forever means. The fabric softener can't conceal the bitterness inside. There's nowhere in this empty room for a broken man to hide. I'm stranded in the corner of a midnight laundromat, watching all our history spin around just like that. The cycles keep repeating, but the stains refuse to fade. I'm drowning in the wreckage of the promises we made. The tumble dryer's humming a heavy rhythmic tune, while I fold my lonely laundry underneath the paper moon. I drop another quarter in the slot to buy some time, a desperate man committing a pathetic, victimless crime. There's a magazine from '83 sitting on the plastic chair, with a cover girl who has your eyes and your cascading hair. I look away and watch the heavy suds begin to drain, wishing I could pull a plug and flush away the I wanna tear the door right off and let the water pour, flood this entire building from the ceiling to the floor. I'm stranded in the corner of a midnight laundromat, watching all our history spin around just like that. The cycles keep repeating, but the stains refuse to fade. I'm drowning in the wreckage of the promises we made. The tumble dryer's humming a heavy rhythmic tune, while I fold my lonely laundry underneath the paper moon. Just spinning around, round and round. The screen is glowing blue against the living room wall. I'm watching infomercials waiting for the sky to fall. It's 3 in the morning, the city's dead and quiet, but inside my chest there's a heavy, raging riot. A man is selling miracles from 1999. I'd pay $1 million just to say that you are mine. The volume's turned down low, but the silence is too loud. I'm trapped beneath the shadow of a heavy thunder's cloud. It's a 3 a.m. broadcast, speaking to the night, a digital companion in the artificial light. I'm wide awake and dreaming of the days when you were here, drowning in the static of another wasted year. The television preacher says to bow my head and pray, but God doesn't listen when you're this far I wrap myself in a blanket, it still smells like your hair, staring at the anchor woman, pretending she's aware of the absolute disaster that my life has now become. A lonely marathon where I am running totally numb. The screen turns to colored bars, the programming is done. Just me and the static, waiting for the morning sun. I wanna smash the screen and plunge into the dark. Erase the glowing image of your arrow in my heart. It's a 3 a.m. broadcast, speaking to the night, a digital companion in the artificial light. I'm wide awake and dreaming of the days when you were here, drowning in the static of another wasted year. The television preacher says to bow my head and pray, but God doesn't listen when you're this far away. Just static now, nothing on the screen. sun is glowing in a fluorescent cherry red. sitting in the studio, fighting the ghosts inside my head. It's 2 a.m. in the city, the switchboard is completely dark. I'm spinning records for the broken, trying to ignite a spark. I pull the microphone closer, take a deep and heavy breath, broadcasting to the lonely souls who are scared of silent death. I tell the listeners that love is just a song we learn to play, but I'm the one who forgot the lyrics and let you walk away. This is the lonely broadcast, reaching out across the night, sending out an FM signal, searching for a guiding light. I'm playing on the power ballads from the summer of '83, hoping that my voice will travel across the distance to the sea. If you have your radio on, if you're awake and feeling low, just know the man behind the microphone has nowhere else to go. A caller on line number 2 is crying for a lost romance, asking me to play a track that reminds her of a dance. I cue the vinyl on the deck and drop the heavy needle down, providing the background music for every teardrop in this town. But who is gonna play a song to heal the DJ's broken heart when the vinyl keeps on spinning, but the world is torn I wanna shut the transmitter and plunge the city into black, because no amount of radio waves can never bring you back. This is a lonely broadcast, reaching out across the night, sending out an FM signal, searching for a guiding light. I'm playing all the power ballads from the summer of '83, hoping that my voice will travel across the distance to the sea. If you have your radio on, if you're awake and feeling low, just know the man behind the microphone has nowhere else to go. Signing off. Good night, whoever you are. I was packing up the bathroom, taking bottles off the shelf, looking in the mirror at the shadow of my former self. I found it hiding in the corner behind a dusty jar, the necklace that I bought for you underneath a shooting star. It used to shine so brilliantly against your porcelain skin, a symbol of the beautiful electric love that we were in. But time is a cruel element, oxidizing what is pure, turning every golden promise into something insecure. Now it's just a silver chain covered up in rust, a tragic little monument to a broken, fragile trust. The shine is completely gone, tarnished by the tears, a metallic representation of the passing of the years. I hold it in my palm and let it slip between my hands, like the hourglass that's running out of desperately needed sands. I remember when I clasped it right around your graceful neck, before our perfect ocean liner turned into a sinking wreck. You swore that you would wear it until the end of time, a poetic little statement for a victimless perfect crime. Now it's sitting in the trash can with the receipts and the decay, a piece of discarded jewelry from a forgotten yesterday. I try to scrub the tarnish off, but the damage goes too deep, a permanent corrosion of the promises we didn't keep. Now it's just a silver chain covered up in rust, a tragic little monument to a broken, fragile trust. The shine is completely gone, tarnished by the tears, a metallic representation of the passing of the years. I hold it in my palm and let it slip between my hands, like the hourglass that's running out of desperately needed sands. Just rust and dust, fading away.
I pulled into the station on the edge of Route 9. The fluorescent lights are buzzing, sending shivers down my spine. I'm filling up the tank of this rusty Chevrolet, trying to put some distance between me and yesterday.
I popped the collar of my jacket to block the midnight chill and breathe in the memory that is haunting me still. The smell of sweet vanilla mixes with the engine fumes, a toxic combination that my broken heart consumes. We were a mixture of perfume and gasoline, the most volatile romance that the city's ever seen. One spark of jealousy, one careless little match, and the whole thing exploded. Nothing left to reattach. We burned so incredibly bright, lighting up the sky. Now I'm choking on the smoke of a beautiful goodbye. You always lived your life up in the fast and reckless lane, while I was just the anchor trying to keep you from the rain. You love the smell of danger, the thrill of the chase, and I was just a pit stop in your endless frantic race. I hang the heavy nozzle back upon the rusted pump, feeling like a discarded, broken piece of junk. I'm striking a match and throwing it into the past, a chemical reaction that was never meant to last. We were a mixture of perfume and gasoline, the most volatile romance that the city's ever seen. One spark of jealousy, one careless little match, and the whole thing exploded. Nothing left to reattach. We burned so incredibly bright, lighting up the sky. Now I'm choking on the smoke of a beautiful goodbye. To smoke and ashes, driving away.
Driving down the interstate, the radio is low. There's nowhere left to hurry, there's nowhere left to go. Out across the barren fields, a million miles away, a radio tower's are glowing in a melancholy green, the saddest late night movie that the world has ever seen. I punched the preset button, searching for our favorite song, the one that we would sing to when the summer days were long. But all I get is white noise and a preacher talking loud, telling me salvation's hiding somewhere in the cloud. I roll the windows down and scream your name into the wind, hoping that the atmosphere will take me back again. Sending out a signal in the dark tonight, hoping that my frequency will catch your guiding light. Through the static and the distance, over mountains deep, I'm broadcasting my sorrow while the heavy city sleeps. If you're out there listening, turn the dial to mine and rescue this lost sailor from the bitter, freezing bright. Just a flashing red light, fading in the static. Park my car in the very last row tonight, facing a giant screen that's lost its brilliant light. The speaker box is hanging by a rusted wire, a metal skeleton of our teenage fire. We used to sit upon the hood and watch the stars, dreaming of a future that would take us very far. Now the weeds are growing through the cracked concrete, and the silence in the air feels painfully complete. I'm sitting at the last drive-in, all alone, watching a silent movie on a screen of stone, projecting all my memories into the dark, trying to reignite a long-forgotten spark. There are no coming attractions, the feature is all done, just a lonely ticket holder, waiting for the sun. I trace your initials in the dust upon the dash, thinking how our grandest plans turned into ash. We drank cherry cola and we shared a salty kiss.
There's a square upon the wallpaper right above the bed, where the paint is a little brighter, a slightly warmer red. It's the spot where your portrait used to hang for all to see, a daily shining monument of what we used to be. I took it down on Tuesday when the tears began to fall. Now there's just a rusty nail sticking out the wall. I wrapped the glass in newspaper and hid it in the drawer, closing up the chapter of a love I can't afford. It's just an empty picture frame made of painted gold, a hollow little border for a story growing old. It used to hold a masterpiece, a canvas of our youth. Now it's just a glaring, unforgiving piece of truth. I look at the empty space and try to draw your face, but I'm just a lonely artist who has lost his saving grace. I remember when we bought it at the market in the spring. You held it to the sunlight, laughing at everything. We slipped the photograph inside and sealed it up so tight, believing that our happiness would never lose its light. But photographs turn yellow and the golden paint will chip, and lovers often stumble when they finally lose their grip. I wanna take a hammer and smash the wooden wood, destroy the empty border of the things I understood. It's just an empty picture frame made of painted gold, a hollow little border for a story growing old. It used to hold a masterpiece, a canvas of our youth. Now it's just a glaring, unforgiving piece of truth. I look at the empty space and try to draw your face, but I'm just a lonely artist who has lost his saving grace. Just empty space, fading
Standing by the chain link fence at the Starlight Inn, looking at the cracked concrete where the water should have been. The neon vacancy sign is cast casting shadows on the deep, while the rest of the highway is completely fast asleep. We used to dive into the blue under the August moon. Now it's just a concrete grave on a Sunday afternoon. The water has evaporated, taken by the sun, just like the beautiful romance that we had just begun. It's an empty motel pool, completely drained and dry, reflecting nothing but the darkness of a starless sky. I'm staring at the bottom, looking at the faded paint, a sinner who is praying to a long forgotten saint. We made a splash in the shallow end, but we sank like a stone. Now I'm standing by the edge of it, freezing and alone. I found a pair of plastic sunglasses sitting by the stair, the ones you left behind when you walked out into the air. The diving board is rusted, hanging over an abyss, a terrifying metaphor for the danger of your kiss. I wanna jump into the deep and break every single bone to match the heavy fracture of a heart left on its I'm stranded at the bottom, looking up at the ledge, balancing my sanity on a razor sharp edge. It's an empty motel pool, completely drained and dry, reflecting nothing but the darkness of the starless sky. I'm staring at the bottom, looking at the faded paint, a sinner who is praying to a long forgotten saint. We made a splash in the shallow end, but we sank like a stone. Now I'm standing by the edge of it, freezing and alone. Just dry concrete, fading summer heat. I was cleaning out the attic on a Sunday afternoon, sweeping away the cobwebs underneath the pale moon. I found a stack of paper tied up with a piece of twine, a time capsule of a world that used to be completely mine. I brushed away the dust and looked at the glossy page. An article from '86, the peak of our golden age. The headlines talk of movie stars and fashions of the past, but nobody wrote an article on how to make love last. We're just like these faded magazines from years ago, packed away in cardboard boxes where the shadows grow. The colors are all washed out, the pages crisp and dry, a printed piece of history that slowly says goodbye. We were the cover story once upon a beautiful time. Now we're just an archive of a long forgotten rhyme. I flipped through the editorials, the pictures in black and white, remembering how we used to read them in the fading light. You'd point at the sports cars and the mansions by the sea and say that was the future you were building just for me. But the future is a funny thing, it rarely goes to plan. And now I'm just a lonely, nostalgic, broken flagged a yellow cab down on the corner of 5th and Main, trying to escape the heavy, unrelenting rain. I slid into the vinyl seat and slammed the heavy door, told the driver, take me steady beat, a rhythm for a broken man, accepting his defeat. The city lights are blurring through the rain-streaked window glass, a beautiful kaleidoscope of a love that didn't last. There are tears in the taxi, falling in the dark, a silent hidden river flowing from a shattered heart. The driver checks the rear view, but he politely looks away. He knows there are some sorrows that words can never say. We're rolling through the neon, through the avenues of pain, just a passenger of heartbreak, crying in the midnight rain. I'm looking at the theater where we saw our first show. It feels like a lifetime and a million miles ago. The marquee is flashing, but the magic has all died, washed away in the flood of the bitter tears I've cried. I try to wipe my face, try to gather my control, but you can't put a band-aid on a deeply fractured soul. I tell him to pull over, I can't take this anymore. I'm drowning in the memory on the backseat floor. There are tears in the taxi, falling in the dark, a silent hidden river flowing from a shattered heart. The driver checks the rear view, but he politely looks away. He knows there are some sorrows that words can never say. We're rolling through the neon, through the avenues of pain, just a passenger of heartbreak, crying in the midnight rain. Keep the change, just let me janitor is sweeping up the streamers from the floor. I slipped into the gymnasium through the heavy back door. The crepe paper is hanging, wilted from the ceiling high, a colorful disaster underneath the painted sky. The dance
but the music keeps repeating in the echoes of my head. I wore my best tuxedo, holding a corsage in my hand, waiting for a partner who simply never took the stand. It's a miracle melancholy, spinning in the dark, casting shattered pieces of light upon my broken heart. A slow and tragic rotation in the center of the room, illuminating the corners of my solitary doom. I'm dancing with my shadow to a song that isn't there, a lonely glittering spectacle of absolute despair. The synthesizer plays a slow and devastating chord, a symphony of sorrow for the completely ignored. I look up at the ceiling, at the thousand points of light, a miniature galaxy mocking my pathetic night. I practiced all my words, I rehearsed my charming smile, but I'm just a lonely dancer in a very empty The spotlight hits the center, but nobody's taking the stage. I'm trapped inside the borders of a teenage gilded cage. It's a miracle melancholy, spinning in the dark, casting shattered pieces of light upon my broken heart. A slow and tragic rotation in the center of the room, illuminating the corners of my solitary doom. I'm dancing with my shadow to a song that isn't there, a lonely glittering spectacle of absolute despair. Just spinning around, reflecting the tears.
The storm blew in from the coastline without a warning sign. I'm driving blind on the highway, drifting across the dotted line. The heater's blasting, but I'm shivering down to the bone, trapped inside this metal cage, utterly and completely alone. Headlights cut a narrow path through the suffocating gray, just like the memories of you that I cannot wash away.
to the thunder roll all the way down our streets. Now the thunder sounds like anger, and the lightning looks like tears, a meteorological reflection of my deeply buried fears. I grip the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles turn to white, trying to survive the tempest of this unforgiving night. I wanna hit the brakes and let the water drown the car. I can't outrun the hurricane, no matter how fast or far. Listen to the windshield, wiper rhythm in the dark, a mechanical precaution for a desperately broken heart. Back and forth, clearing up the rain, but they can never clear the vision of my undeniable pain. I'm driving to the rhythm of a love that didn't last, watching all the blurry street lights fading in the past. Just back and forth through the storm.
There's a layer of dust upon the polished ebony wood, sitting in the corner where our masterpiece once stood. I haven't touched the ivory key since the day you went away, 'cause every single chord I strike has something sad to say. Sheet music is yellowing, sitting on the stand, waiting for the magic of your delicate right hand. The silence in the living room is deafening indeed, a quiet mausoleum where the melodies now sleep. It's just a silent piano, a monument of pain, a beautiful instrument left out in the emotional rain. It remembers every love song that we used to proudly sing. Now it's a wooden coffin for a broken, fragile thing. I run my fingers lightly across the black and white display, but the music died the moment that you chose to walk away. We used to play together, four hands upon the board, finding perfect harmony in every single chord. You taught me how to feel the rhythm deep inside my chest. You brought out the music, you brought out my very best. Now the pedals are all frozen, the strings are out of tune, reflecting
chose to walk away. No more songs, just the silence